evening, ladies and gentlemen. As you can see, we are spoiled for guests this evening with two guests joining us, familiar faces. Welcome, Gareth. Welcome, Phil.
Good evening.
Good to be here.
To see you. Lots to talk about as ever. A quick technical mention. Phil, it's saying again, this is not working on X. So I don't know if you happen to have those instructions from last time, you could maybe see if you could get it working on X. So those of you who are watching on X, you're not, but it might be there before too long. Do fire comments in. We're always happy to interact with your comments. That's one of the best things with the live stream. Oh, Phil's disappeared to go and try to see if we can get it on X, I would guess. Right, quite a lot of quick stories, and then a couple of stories I want to talk about at a bit more length. One of the ones a bit longer is Bill Gates's marriage. I've made a video about this. Well, I was going to make a video, but it was too long to be a short video and too short to be a long video. So I ended up not making it. So I'm going to talk about it in the live stream. I will save that for a little bit later. But let's see what we've got first on the agenda. A Scottish independence party mired in fraud allegations. Which party could that be? Well, any of them, really. so Alba. I think I don't know, that beggars belief, doesn't it? So there's no sort of financial fraud, let's call it. It's like in the DNA of the Scottish nationalist political parties. So when you get a splinter group from the SNP, what you find in them, there's internal fraud, and their finances are a total mess, and the police are investigating. I mean, it's quite remarkable, isn't it? That's happening. And you heard this, Gareth, that Alba have basically they're not going to contest the election.
Yeah. Is it related to this, or just because the parties? Wow.
Alba have massive donations. They're rolling in money, as far as I can tell. I mean, I've seen like lists of donations that are not far off £1 million. So they've always seemed to have a lot of money. They've had this fraud, so they were unable to submit their accounts to the Electoral Commission probably a year ago. Well, I don't know when their accounting period is actually. So at some point they couldn't submit their accounts because they were investigating fraud, and they've been unable to submit them. So I think basically they've been deregistered by the Electoral Commission for failure to submit their accounts. So they can't put up candidates. So some people are saying, oh, we'll give you some money so we can pay for candidates to stand. But that's not the problem. The problem is they're not registered. Another problem they've had, as a political party, you have something called a nominating officer. And that's the person officially registered with the Electoral Commission who can sign off to officially recognize someone as a candidate for your party. It's to avoid someone like standing for the SNP when actually they're not with the SNP. So it's a way of checking it really is official. But their nominating officer had gone off in a huff. They'd fallen out with him. Or maybe it's the person who's been accused of fraud. I'm not sure. So their nominating officer wasn't cooperating with the party. And then in some recent elections, the SNP have put up candidates, but they didn't have a nominating officer. So people are saying, well, who signed these forms? So this is under investigation as well. So the whole thing is a total mess. I say the police are involved investigating. And I think surely, well, one would imagine this will be the end of Alba as any sort of remotely credible political force. It won't disappear. Someone will keep the lights on and keep it ticking over in the future. But this is total crash and burn.
Yeah, this will massively impact the the members, because they're going to question why am I donating to the party that isn't able to even pull it together to actually attend and contest the elections.
Yeah. And worse than that, only 2 or 3 weeks ago, they emailed their members saying we've put up the membership fee. So you need to pay more. So they got more money out of their members just before they announced, oh, by the way, we're bankrupt and we're under investigation for fraud and we're not a political party and we're not having any candidates in the election. Wow. So I think some members are trying to get their money back from Alba for it. I mean, dear, oh dear. I mean, it's hard to imagine it. Apart from the SNP, it's hard to imagine.
Yeah, well, it's not too hard to imagine. We've seen this happen before.
Yeah,
but not to such a degree.
Right, continuing with the Alba theme a little bit, an ex-SNP and ex-Alba candidate is now the lead candidate for Labour in Edinburgh and Lothians East region.
Oh,
it's a wealthy businessman the reports are stating that the local activists are bemused. They're saying, how did this happen? Because it's democratic. They're saying, however did this person manage to leap to the top of the list? So there's trouble in the ranks at Labour as well over this. I mean, who knows what happens? Anna Sow is always saying, we need more Asians in politics. We need more Asian MSPs, etc. But as soon as you say that, you raise the concern in people's minds. Well, okay, what are you going to do to achieve that end?
Yeah.
So there's, they're unsettled in the Labour ranks in Edinburgh and East Lothian East as well. Far be it from me to stir things up, but let's stir things up. So let's see how that develops. I think the big announcement for candidate-wise is going to be Reform UK's candidates, because people will be all over those and investigating them. And well, let's see what comes out.
Yeah.
Right, there's an Ash Wednesday blessing, good wish from the Scottish Greens.
Interesting.
What do you think when you see these things from political parties? They do them for all religions, obviously. And then you get Christians in as well.
I have absolutely zero idea of how they can even, their policies are so against it that it's, it's a token gesture. That's very interesting. It's them trying to win favor when actually their policies are totally against it.
Yeah, I guess partly as well, they're trying to relativize Christianity. It sort of communicates that Christianity is one of the many religions we recognize, which I suppose is okay, and I'm not particularly disagreeing with that. But that's part of what they're doing. But does it work? Do you think? I mean, will there be any Christians that look at that and think, "Oh, that's really great. The Greens, that's very thoughtful of them. Maybe I'll vote for the Greens after all." Surely not. Surely not. Will they?
No, I can't think of it. I mean, I couldn't possibly think of anyone who thinks that the Greens have probably been the most against the Christian views and viewpoints. So anyone who knows, I can't imagine a genuine Christian would think, "Oh, great, I'm going to vote Green."
Yeah. Another Lent well-wishing message from Police Scotland Greater Glasgow. Do you want Police Scotland to be sending you sort of religious messages as well? I mean, my feeling is sort of not really, because you just do it for one, you have to do it for all. It doesn't really mean very much. Probably just get on with your job. Might be the best thing. What do you think? Are you wanting to receive such a message from the police?
I got a feeling that they did the whole Happy Diwali, or they've gone down the road.
They will, they'll do the lot,
and they, which like, if you're taking that perspective, then maybe it's at least good that they do something for the Christian perspective. Like, I would love to see an Easter message. I'd expect to see an Easter message as well. What's
your viewpoint, Phil? Do you want the Police Scotland delivering religious greetings to people on various festivals?
I don't think it's necessarily a great thing to have. Like, I find that on kind of corporate websites that they're celebrating every religion, every day, so these are sort of competing things. I don't think you can say that they're all. It doesn't make sense to celebrate every religious festival.
They always say we're best wishes to people who are celebrating. That's normally the line, isn't it?
Yeah.
We'd like to wish our Christian communities. So that there's a Muslim community, there's a Christian community, there's these, and then there's a normal people, obviously.
And what do you do for Lent? Do you celebrate Lent? Do you?
No, well, it's a period of reflection.
Yeah.
So, I actually replied to it saying, congratulations for solving 100% of murders in the last year. Did you know that? Have I talked about that before?
Yeah, you talked about it.
Yeah, 100% murder solving rate. So I'll congratulate them on that. But personally, I'm not too bothered about a a message. Right, Liam, I don't value someone wishing a happy insert religious feast here if they don't celebrate it themselves, just a virtue signal of no value. I sort of agree. Yeah, I think for an individual to say, like for a Hindu to say to a Christian, I hope you have a nice Christmas, then sort of okay. But I think for the police to be doing it, it'll be their diversity officer at it, won't it? That'll be the thing.
The issue you have here is like somebody's sending this message, and the same day, some policeman is arresting a Christian preacher and is, in the middle of the street for because he mentioned Islam or something.
Uh-huh.
And now you try and marry these up, right? How does that compute? In one side you got Happy Lent, and the other side you'd be arresting a guy who's kind of in the same boat. I think it's probably not necessary. I think because we know for sure that the police are pro one side more than the other at some point, so I think stick to the law.
Politicize. This is the sort of Christianity they like. The same as they like the government and the other parties. They like the sort of trimmings. They're not so keen on the content, but they like the trimmings. Right. You've all seen this story. So basically, Dorothy Bain, in her legal capacity, she's part of the Scottish cabinet, which I think just seems bizarre. And it's come out that she tipped off John Swinney about Peter Murrell's charges nearly a year ago. People are saying this is obviously not right, that this is the breach of the proper process. You don't warn people what charges are going to come against them. You should wait like everyone else. In her defense, I would say, I wouldn't think she was telling him because it's the government. Maybe it's more she's telling the boss of the organization that has been the victim of the fraud. So maybe it was something a bit more like that. But opinion generally seems to be that this is out of order. And it doesn't surprise me in the least, because the Scottish government is very cozy and tries to get its tentacles into all arms of the state and bring them under its influence. It doesn't respect their independence. So we'll see how this story develops. But it doesn't seem right. It doesn't seem right that she's in that position, in the cabinet. So like a senior legal figure in the cabinet, but the cabinet is subject to the law like anyone else. So I haven't followed this very closely, but let's see what happens with that one. This gentleman was an NHS doctor in Scotland. He was sending messages to children, basically asking them about their sexuality, and then preyed on a child. I won't bother going into the details, but pretty sordid goings on there. And it just reminded me of the NHS is so festooned with pride flags, isn't it? So I wonder how that made him feel a bit safer. Quick issue here. BBC article, why I decided to start gentle parenting. This is like the parenting equivalent of restorative approach in schools. Really soft, gentle obviously, approach to parenting, not punishing, not tough, not strict, not demanding, whatever. So the BBC is saying this. Elsewhere on the internet, we've got this sort of thing. Gentle parenting is leaving kids unprepared for school. Lots of teachers in primary school are saying kids are arriving, they can't tie the shoelaces, they can't use a knife and fork, they can't open a book and read it. There's one I even saw. They said that kids in the school, if you give them a book, put a book in front of them, they would touch it as though it was a touch screen. They would try and swipe it to get to the next page. They didn't know you could actually turn a page over with it. Or kids who are not toilet trained. So it's interesting. There's a classic case where there's two viewpoints, and the BBC is on one side, the wrong side, and there's other people pulling in the other direction. But the power of the BBC to have that article on the BBC will be read by millions, hundreds of thousands.
Yeah.
A lot of people, a lot of parents. And
would you say it's actually damaging to the children?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think it's damaging to the parents as well.
Yeah.
I think it can make the parents
damaging to the parents.
Yeah. It can mean the parents don't enjoy the children because it's a constant battle, so it's constant tension and argument over things. So, and then I think other people look on at that and think, oh, wow, I wouldn't fancy having that. I don't fancy having kids. So I think it contributes as well to low birth rates. Yes, absolutely, John. That is increasingly an issue. And I came across this as well, some evidence. It's from America. The same would apply anywhere, I'm sure. Stricter parenting is harder, but is associated with better parent-child relationships. Yeah. So if you look at those things there, so each set of bars, there's some form of stricter parenting, strict curfews, strict bedtime, screen time limits, limits on who a child befriends, restricts sleepovers, dedicated homework time, device drop-off time, and outside playtimes. And it shows the effect on them. So the blue bar is effect on parent-child relationship according to the parent. They're all positive. Effect on teenager-reported parent-child relationship. So do the parents get on better with the teenagers? That's the grey bars, all positive. If you ask the parents, are these things difficult? They generally say yes. So the parents say, yeah, these things are difficult, but the outcomes will come out better for them.
Yeah. So. Yeah, I certainly can say that I've become stricter and stricter, and it's worked better and better. So in other words, instead of having these long debated arguments and fights and whatever it is, I've implemented my disciplinary tools, if you can put it that way. And I simply say, you will get punished, and they know that it can happen, and they know that it will happen if they continue. So I just remind, I just need to go 5, 4, because that's when they get punished. They get 5 seconds to comply, and they do. And of course they go off to bed and they scurry off and things. So I still have to say that, but it is compared to the long, drawn out, massive kind of things. I really think it's a completely different way of life, and everyone wins.
Yeah.
Is that from RoboCop? You got the 5 seconds to comply?
Yeah. Maybe. But I find it amusing. Because my kids come back and they're like, "You're too strict, Daddy. You're too strict." And then you ask them, "Are we strict?" No, you're not strict enough. You're not strict enough.
I think a lot of parents are frightened. You've got the idea that the kids are so delicate that you're going to traumatize them and whatever. And so parents are afraid to, or dads in particular, maybe, to just be natural.
But what the studies like on the parenting course, which stuck with me ever since we did the parenting course, said that a boundary isn't there to restrain a child as much as it is to protect the child. In other words, if the child is testing a boundary, it's trying to test its security system. It's trying to see if the wall is there and I can't get out, it means something else can't get in. And therefore, the boundary that you set is your word, and your word says, if you don't do this, this will happen. That needs to happen. And that means if I can trust those words, I can trust other words. So it really is just a child looking for security. And that's why boundaries are necessary. And if you don't have the boundaries, they're desperate. They're going to push the limits for anything because they're looking for a boundary. They're needing security. And that's what's missing. So this soft parenting, in my mind, you're going to produce insecure children, effectively.
Yeah. Absolutely right. Continuing. And now they've been voting on assisted suicide in the Welsh Senedd today. I don't know if there's a result yet. Where's Liam? Liam will tell us. Liam will know. Is there an update? Last time I checked, they hadn't taken the vote yet. They're not voting on the law because it's not a devolved matter. But they're basically, as I understand it, they're voting about whether or not the NHS in Wales will actually implement it. So it could pass at Westminster, but then the Welsh NHS could be told by the Welsh government or Welsh Assembly, Okay, but we're not doing this. Don't go ahead and do it. And so what did the BBC have at the top of their news page in Wales all day? This story. I don't want him going abroad to die, says mum of son's assisted dying wish. So just straightforward, point blank, pro-assisted suicide story. And that's what the BBC stick on there. Say, top of the news page for Wales on the day of the vote. Classic case. Liam was unaware. Liam must focus all of his attention on Scottish politics and on that minutiae there. If anyone could look it up, it'd be interesting to know. They voted against it the last time, I think. But if anyone's going to have a look, that'd be interesting to see. Oh, yet another one of these. Police launch hate crime probe after bacon is left outside mosque in first week of Ramadan. These things come up time and time again. And I keep saying it's not a news story. It's not a news story. It's trivia. Okay, someone's stupid, but that shouldn't become a news story. It's like people who say a bad word or something or shout something racist in the crowd at a football game. It's not a news story. Okay, it's bad, but it's not a news story. And they make such a fuss over it that's what provokes people to do it. Gives them the idea and makes them think it's going to get a lot of attention. Senate vote in favour of assisted dying on Welsh NHS. Okay. Thank you, Liam. I was surprised they voted against it last time because the Welsh Senate is a bit like the Scottish Parliament. So anyway, now we know. Right, so Bill Gates's marriage. I'll just tell this story and then Phil and Gareth can tell me what you think. So this was an article in The Guardian a few years ago when Bill Gates' marriage had broken up, got divorced, whatever. So this lady in The Guardian wrote this article, Marriage Doesn't Work, Just Ask Bill and Melinda Gates. And I'll show you her. So there they are, Bill and Melinda Gates.
This Your most typical marriage that you could have, I think.
Yes, yeah. So she said, if two people who have more homes than most people have shoes, own more farmland than any other private landowner in the US and have a private jet can't make it, who can? Of course, there's more to successful marriage than money, such as shared experiences. Well, Bill and Melinda vaccinated the world. That seems like something you might bond over, right? Hey, honey, remember that time we eradicated polio? Did that give them a warm and fuzzy feeling inside? The answer, as we all know, was no. So she's basically saying Bill and Melinda Gates had everything possible going for her. Didn't work out. That just shows that marriage doesn't work. It's outdated. It's unrealistic. It's counterproductive. So marriage is bad. Bill and Melinda Gates have proved it. Right. So let's see what actually. So when that article was written, we didn't know any of this. But let's see what we found did actually go on that caused problems in the marriage. And there's plenty of it. So there's a headline in the paper. Bill Gates' very checkered love life, from inappropriate relationship with staffer that sparked sexual harassment probe at Microsoft to new revelation Jeffrey Epstein tried to extort him over affair with Russian bridge player. So, I mean, does this case demonstrate that marriage obviously doesn't work? Or does this case demonstrate that Bill Gates doesn't work? The failure is not the institution of marriage. The failure is, from what we can see, is Bill Gates and his behavior and how it inevitably ended. Then just the end of the article. So she ends up with this advice. My partner and I have been together for a decade and we're not married, which means we will never divorce. Well, I don't get that really. The point is that are you going to split up? So they may split up, but it won't be a divorce, and that's what counts, she thinks. Every time he goes out to the shop, I have no way of knowing if he'll ever come back because he's not on the marriage leash. He probably will. We have 3 kids, but maybe he won't. It's exciting, keeps things spicy, And that's the real secret to longevity. Words of wisdom. Yeah.
Other than statistically, it's not.
That
Yeah.
is terrible. So things that keep it spicy is whether he's going to go and leave you any minute.
Yeah. And abandon the kids as well.
And abandon the kids. Like you,
I assume that spices things up for the kids as well. Keeps life exciting and unpredictable.
Well, I'm sure they're.
Who knows who we might meet at the shop? Yeah.
Yeah.
Is
Which
that
shops are you going to?
Yeah. But how can they print something that's making a point that's so demonstrably false? But I bet the staff of the Guardian don't know that. They probably haven't got a clue about the statistics relating to marriage. They're probably the sort of people, you probably had these conversations where you try and explain to people the statistics relating to marriage, and they're saying, no, I don't believe that. I know some people who got divorced. I know some people who live together and still live together. No, that's nonsense. I don't believe you. Probably the Guardian editors are probably of that sort of view. But I mean, just totally wrong-headed, totally upside down. And I guess this is the Guardian. I mean, what do you expect? But you get this sort of stuff in all the papers. I guess that's maybe even more depressing. You get this sort of article in the Telegraph and the other papers who you think might sort of know better as well. You still get it.
Are there any stats to see if the younger generation are upholding marriage or like that? I know that there's a newer kind of like phase of kids who probably aren't at the age of getting married yet, who are looking at the former generations going, that was just silly, those are just terrible ideas, and looking for more meaning. Certainly there's young couple that I've become aware of, and just the idea of marriage for them is so different to just a tradition or doing something for the sake of doing something. They totally get it, and it's meaningful. It's something in which you can have 4 kids with, and it's such a great thing to see. I was wondering, are there any stats seeing that come through? They would probably be the type to get married in their 20s, 21, 22s, and they did get married in their 20s. I was wondering, are there any stats of new 20-year-olds getting married?
I haven't seen stats of the marriage rate changing, but I've seen stats of opinion and the youngest generation being a bit more socially conservative. Mm-hmm. People have suggested that could be a reason, that they've looked at older generations and thought, wow, what a mess. I don't want to do that. So that could be part of it, but it seems like just a wider movement of young people becoming a bit more conservative, a bit more sensible, and basically rejecting the values of the bad values of older generations. That, generally speaking, the generation that just automatically, because that's what they soaked up, they just tend to have sensible, good values. I mean, that generation are like in their 80s and 90s now.
Yeah.
There's really, the main body of the population have been brought up with wonky values, and so maybe young people are responding to that. I don't know. But it just made me think of our policy of promoting marriage. We need to counter this sort of thing, to be consciously, deliberately countering this sort of messaging.
Yeah,
because I think it does make a difference to people.
I think marriage courses are amazing. They're really good. We should promote marriage courses. If you want a marriage course, jump on one. There's techniques for having debates. It's just brilliant, absolutely brilliant. It actually really helped. Understanding, having discussions. Often people marriage breakdowns because of lack of communication. But it's not that easy. And unless you're given tools to communicate and ways to communicate, unless you know that hey, we should have a regular time to communicate, it'll never happen. And then therefore people get frustrated and go, well, I've had enough of this, and everyone wonders why. So yeah, I definitely think. Just like any career thing, you would do courses and you would learn about it. Marriage is one of them. I think there are definitely things that we could be doing and promoting as well. So really highlighting its benefit, that security. There's nothing like it, having that security.
Yeah.
Do you think that's something we should do? Is actually just run an advert for marriage? We don't have to be in...
When with the government, you mean? Or
no, not necessarily when we're in government. We don't need to be in government to do it. We just do it as an advert, and people would think, that's a bit interesting.
Yeah, could you? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah. Well, our policy is marriage preparation classes are part of our policy, and the wedding box, etc. And promoting marriage in school and through the tax system, and just in general, culturally.
So I
What a
think
world.
a marriage advert, where it's not obvious who's posted it, what it's from, would get people talking a lot.
They think it was from the Scottish Association of
And you
Ministers
just
or Priests or
list
something.
the features of it. You list the product features and what it does, and
Yeah, the benefits.
and then there'll be a story like who's behind this, who's
Yeah.
It couldn't be us because you're not allowed to do that.
Yeah.
And unnamed adverts. But someone could. Right, I've got a few. I mean, what is going on in Britain with Christianity and politics? As I say, it's just this everywhere. Well, not everywhere you turn. On the right of politics, it seems like there's people who are not Christians falling over themselves to talk Christian at every opportunity. So that we'd have a look at some of the things coming out from France, because they're competing with each other to out-Christian each other at the moment. They really are. So let's have a look what they're coming up with to win over the Christians. So this is advanced.
I was just thinking we should invite a movement called Refrain.
Refrain. That's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Restore, Refrain UK or Refrain Britain.
What's the other one?
Restore, reclaim, reform.
Reform.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what will Advance UK do? Re-establish commitments to the Christian values and traditions of the UK. Require all public servants to swear on the Bible or take a non-religious oath which acknowledges this country as Christian.
And what's the Bible say about taking the Lord's name in vain? What did Jesus say? Do not swear on. Do not swear about heaven, or do not swear on any of this stuff. Just let your yes be yes and your no be no. Anything beyond this comes from the evil one.
There's a short video to make. Do you want to make that short video tomorrow, Phil?
Yeah.
Or should I do that? That's. I hadn't thought of that. That's well done. That's good. I mean, it's just a bit wonky. I mean, country is Christian. I always think I don't know what that means. There's so many ways you could interpret it. But if it means the country is full of people who are genuinely Christians, then it just ain't. Right. Protect our Christian heritage. Like getting the builders into churches to repair them? Not quite sure. Prohibit churches being converted to other uses. Now that is nuts. That's just bonkers.
That'll be a huge cost.
So what are you going to do? So the Church of Scotland in I don't know, somewhere in Edinburgh closes and the building's empty, and you can't convert it to another use. I just what they mean is they don't want the what Restore is saying. We won't let churches be converted. No, Reform is saying they won't let churches be turned into mosques.
Oh right, got you.
Okay, I don't like seeing churches turned into mosques, but problem with that rule is it's a rule that discriminates against Muslims, and that will just generate resentment and militancy among Muslims because you're actually treating them unfairly. Because in this country, if a building's for sale, you buy it and get planning permission, whatever, and you can do it. So that's a strange one.
Is the first point there not trying to do the same thing, where it's saying if you are swearing on the Bible that this country is Christian, it prevents somebody else from saying, well, like for example in Birmingham or wherever, saying this area is Muslim. You can't.
That's what they're trying to. They think it's the antidote to that.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
They think it's the antidote. Well, they're not concerned about other religions in general. They're concerned about Islam. It's all about Islam, really. So they think making people say this is a Christian country.
But why would an unbeliever swear on the Bible?
Well, or take a non-religious oath.
Oh, taking a non-religious oath. Okay.
Yeah. So I guess what it's trying to do is say that based on that fact that you believe it's a Christian country, you can't then declare a jihad or get to that point like your speech at the conference where where you're saying that there's a political and then religious and then legal link linked to Islam. But I still don't think that would actually have the impact. Like if there is a person who's deliberately trying to spread Islam, he would just say whatever it takes to get in there.
I mean, Christianity is a minority religious identity, let alone genuine faith. The percentage of people who identify as Christians has dipped under 50% in the UK. It dipped under 50% in Scotland a little while ago. So it just seems a bit. It's like they're flailing around, that they're wanting to do something on this area, but they don't know what to do. So let's have a look at some others. Right, Reform vows to block churches being turned into mosques. All churches to gain listed building status under plans to protect DNA of the country. Yeah, I don't know. What do you think? I mean, let's say a church buys like a warehouse type building and makes it a church, and then it comes to sell it.
I could see it ending up with persecution of the church, because there's a political idea of what the church is, and so just as they say, like, well, we don't want Islam, they could say your brand of Christianity isn't the historical brand. You have veered from the traditions, therefore you're in violation of Britain being a Christian country, just because they've got this idea of what Christianity is, and it's people that aren't Christians a lot of the time that are putting forward these things, when you look at their lives and when you look at what Jesus said about how you should live, there's often manifestly things that don't go along with that, and that they'll plainly admit, like, Nigel Farage will say, I'm not a Christian myself, so yeah, I think maybe Christians should look back to the sort of Celtic Christians and the way they behaved when the nation was entirely pagan and Christianity spread like wildfire across the country without having, the grip on politics. And if they look to some of those methods, I think it might be more successful. The command of Jesus, go and make disciples of all nations. And in the past, Christians have done that by winning people from other religions, The
only counter to that I can think of is that's not in an Islamic kind of state, where if you look at what's happening now with Iran, where that is actually happening and has happened for a long while. Iran's had thousands of Christians brewing under the surface for a long time now, 40 years, and now they bubble up and are being totally attacked and then shot, and people in the streets being killed, and so I kind of see the responsibility here is to say, we want that to continue. We like the Christian values, we want that to continue, and even though I'm not Christian, I know those Christian values are good and helpful for society, helpful for growing, helpful for being kind, loving your brother, loving your enemy. It's a great Christian values are great for society and the economy. We want to just make sure that it's not going to go away. And so maybe that's what they're trying to do. So I can kind of, I do have sympathy, but I also don't know what the answer is.
They sort of have got some vague goal in view, but they want policies that will communicate that they're concerned about this, but they don't know what the policies are.
I think the Christian vote is important to them, or some section of the Christian vote is important to them.
Do you think they do think that?
I think they think that.
See, I don't think they do. I don't think they do. I think that they think they're appealing to, cultural Christians.
Yeah.
Or
that's what I mean, like the
people who don't like Islam.
Cultural Christians. But I think you could end up with like a Christian version of Islamism.
Yeah, I was
You
just
know,
going to say that.
it's basically this.
Yeah.
It's saying like, well, this is where Islamism is going. We need a Christian version of it.
Yeah.
That sort of
So it's
enforces
effectively-
Christianity,
Yeah.
or a version of Christianity on people,
Yeah.
and people have to kind of play along with it. You know,
Mm-hmm.
and I oppose Islamism, but I think I'd oppose a Christian version of Islamism as well.
Yeah. Like saying to the Muslims, you lot would make this a Muslim country. You'd want to take over and then treat us unfairly. And so we're going to do the same to you. And that will make Muslims think, oh, well, that's the way you do it is you get power and then you declare that your religion's the dominant one. Your religion's the one that gets special treatment. So it's endorsing the philosophy of like Islamic statehood. So no, let's see what else we've got. Right, this is Restore Britain. We're on to now. This is their spokesman, media spokesman, and let's go down towards the bottom. Britishness is first and foremost a matter of ancestry and lineage. The indigenous people of the British Isles are the English, Scottish, Welsh, and Irish. It's as simple as that. Merely living in Britain, holding a British passport, or believing in British values does not mean they're actually British. Restore Britain is the only party that will say that without fear. Now, I think that is saying what should be sort of a bit unsayable in politics, because that's saying to some immigrants, right, you're not British and you never can be. Your children never can be. Just you're an outsider. You're not one of us. You're an outsider. That's not to say that ancestry is like irrelevant, that there's not important things to say. But I think in saying this, they're crossing the line into ethno-nationalism. And Rupert Lowe, I heard Rupert Lowe challenged on this. And they said to him, what your bloke said there, that was ethno-nationalism. And Rupert Lowe just waffled. He didn't really answer. He waffled. But this tweet is still there. It hasn't been taken down, hasn't been retracted, hasn't been clarified. So, any thoughts on that one?
Yeah, I listened to Alex Phillips talking to young Bob on her show, and she managed to get him to say some things that kind of crossed the line. I think on that. I think he did so by mistake, but it seems that there's a line that gets crossed on this issue. And it's a bit weird though, because this is what Reform has been accused of doing, and now they're trying to basically push re-what's it into framing them as being the same thing, and I think sometimes that, like, I thought for it's Rupert Lowe, isn't it? That's right. No.
Yes, Restore.
Yeah, Rupert Lowe. I thought his line was okay, where he said, there's nothing to be ashamed of being white. There's nothing to be ashamed of being straight. There's nothing to be ashamed of being British, kind of thing. I think that's okay to say those things. And I think people have been in a position, and there's nothing to be ashamed of being a man, But he made those 4 statements. I'd agree with those, and I'd agree that and some of those categories, people have been made to feel that's something they should be ashamed of, or they're the least or the worst for being those things. But yeah, you definitely shouldn't be in a position where you're saying that any other color is worse or less worthy or any of those things,
Right, it's the same. This is you can't be British. You can live here, but you'll never be one of us. But Rupert Lowe in his launch video,
the struggle
there was
on
a lot of
its program was basically trying to define what Britishness is, and neither side could work it out. Because Alex Phillips was arguing that basically it wasn't to do with color and genealogy. It was to do with a set of values. I think was she saying it was values? I think she was sort of saying it was values-ish. No, what was it? Yeah. What one side was saying it was values, and one side was, veering towards the mixture of values and, ethnicity or something like that. I don't know if it was ethnicity, but having some roots in the country, basically. That either you've got roots in the country, or you're not opposing the culture of the country. Yeah. But then there's this struggle of, well, what is the culture of the UK? Who is the arbiter of, in a country that doesn't have a constitution?
There's plenty of people who are like, of British ancestral stock who don't share what I would see as British values and really detest the history.
And that came up in the conversation. Is basically, so you're saying if an immigrant comes in and they hold these values, they should be sent out. But what about somebody who's just British and holds those values, and they're are they less British for holding values that you disagree with? And I think on lots of these arguments, like on free speech, that I think sometimes the statement we stand for free speech and things like that can become not that meaningful, because I think at the end of the day, people are actually standing for a set of values, and generally they want, there are areas for us, like as a Scottish Family Party, where we'd say we don't want to see this taught in schools. We don't want to, for various things, we'd say we don't want to see this ideology with like trans, being talked about by teachers and things like that to students and these sorts of things. And so there are settings where we'd say that's not appropriate, to bring these things up. And so I think that there's maybe a bit of honesty that's needed. Is that there's values that different groups are standing for, and we want to argue for those values, and stand up for values and saying this is how we think this country should be run, and this is how we'd like to run this country.
I think with like Rupert Lowe, he will say things that I agree with. He'll say things that a lot of people agree with. He'll say things a lot of family party supporters will agree with. And I guess that's the danger, is that people hear people saying things they agree with, and then when they, like I think Restore says, crossing the line into ethno-nationalism. That's a bit. Hang on, just carry on. And I think that's a really serious thing. And the danger is that people hear 5 things that they think, oh, great, I agree with that, and then by the time it gets to the thing where they should say, whoa, hang on, alarm bells, that this, us, and them, I'm not so keen on that.
I think that the thing that's really difficult, though, is policy, in this area. I think it's fairly easy to define what the outcome is that people want, that they don't want to feel threatened. They don't want to see Sharia law and things like that in the UK. They don't like some of the things that they see where these things are being pushed for. But then how you put that into a set of rules where you say, this person can stay and this person must go, is really, really hard. It's really difficult to have a set of rules that define these things, and people on one side of that line are deported and people on the other side can stay. That's massive.
It's not like that's an integration. If people haven't integrated,
however
you're going to test
I mean I think that point is fair if people have not integrated and things like that. But then trying to have a law and a panel that comes up with integration factor is it's going to be pretty brutal. The way that works, and so that's something I find hard in terms of policy. It's and this is where the reform and restore debate was basically, that every time Alex Phillips was trying to pin down young Bob on how are you going to make that actual decision, he found it impossible to come up with, where the line is.
It's appealing to angry people. Basically, people are angry about something. If you can say something angry,
there's a real issue there.
I'm not saying there's not a real issue.
There's a real issue there, but the policy is hard. you know, and wherever you draw the line, you could be criticized on it. And so the easiest thing is to draw no line, you know, and just remain with the status quo. But I don't think that's good.
It doesn't need to be too hard. Like, you got a point system for coming in, you have a point system going out, and if you rate someone in whatever it is, you need to go out. Like it doesn't have to be. There's already laws there that can be leveraged and that kind of thing. The frustration that he's leveraging and pulling is obviously what's happened recently, where there's such an outrage of clear injustice going on and nothing going, and what seems to be nothing happening. And the same person, you look at Europe, you know, this person was tried, convicted, and then sent back to just like, you know, back there to do it again.
I think I agree with that there's, you know, that it's maybe something happens and then that triggers the investigation or something like that, you know, that there's a rape, there's a murder, and then you find that there's some you know, ideology which is behind that, and that triggers, you know, removal and those kind of things, or you know, publicly espousing views which are basically for the takeover of the UK or something like that, you know, or the establishment of another legal system in the UK, you know, which is, if you're establishing Sharia courts and things like that, you know, and using them, then I think that those kinds of things would.
Do you think that applies to citizens? Or
It
just to
can't.
people who've got indefinite leave to remain?
It can't really apply to citizens. Citizens, do you mean like people who've got a passport and the?
I think once someone's a citizen, then even if it was a mistake, the state has accepted them as a full member.
Yeah, and then you've got the issue of the you know, that basically on paper there's a whole lot of people who are British, who are less British than the people you're deporting, as it were, you know. And they might be white, they might be whatever, and hold values that we're deporting people for, but people would point to that double standard of things. I think an interesting one for Rupert Lowe is that he said that he'd take all the illegal immigrants or whatever, or all the, you know, and put them in Scotland on some island, while we work out what to do with them, you know, before being deported or whatever, you know, and that's maybe a reason why Scottish people should not view.
Yeah, something else you said. Put that was, it said they'd have a referendum on the death penalty. Okay, we could talk about that another time. But it said if it passed, they would kill Axel Ruder-Cabana, which I think is a totally outrageous. You can't retrospectively change the law and then going to apply it to someone from earlier on. Again, it's populism. It's appealing to emotion, anger, vindictiveness, whatever. But if a nation started doing that, deciding, well, actually, we're going to go back and kill someone. There was no such thing as the death penalty when the crime was committed. But we've changed our mind, and we're now going to go back and so killing a particular prisoner a political campaigning point, I think, is out of. Anyway, let's carry on with their spokesman. We are defined, so British, we're defined by our indigenous ancestry and Christian faith. Again, there's been a lot of attention to this, but it hasn't been taken down. It's still sitting there, defined by our indigenous ancestry and Christian faith. So what makes you British? Your DNA and your Christian faith. So it says, so Rupert Lowe's only half British. Nigel Farage, I think, is not at all British. The royal family are not British. Most people, I think that's quite concerning. And that says to everyone of other faith in Britain.
People were Britons before there was Christianity. Is that right? Before the UK was
the
Christian.
Romans
The term Britain, is like you've got Brittany in France and all these kind of things. It's a group of people. So the Britons would not be British in that sort of sense.
No. I just worry it's taken the line that, right, we can never have a harmonious society with the people who are here now, because it's us and them. They can never be part of us. They're always separate.
No, I don't necessarily think that's what. Well, I think there is that distinction. Like listening to what Restore's saying, I think they do value integration, maybe more than Reform does. And
I would say you can't have it both ways, though.
Yeah,
you can't say this sort of thing and then. Basically, I think Rupert Lowe's response to every criticism is, we don't care, everyone ignore it, we just carry on. So I think if they're saying contradictory things, it sort of doesn't matter because they refuse to enter into any sort of discussion. But I think it's another red line. If you're starting saying, right, as Christians are British, if you're not British, and it's like that in India. If you're not a Hindu, you're not Indian. It's like in a lot of Muslim majority countries. If you're not Muslim, you're not a proper citizen. You're somehow not really part of us. I think that's the formula for tension and strife and conflict in the nation. I think it's quite, it's very. I think it's irresponsible. It's stirring up, hostility against groups in Britain, which some people say, sorry, go on.
Everything's fallen apart now, on the right, because, the Tories, they didn't win leadership elections, have joined Reform.
Mm-hmm.
Then Restore has launched, and the base of Reform has now left Reform and is kind of joining Restore.
Yeah.
And then Advance had an announcement saying they would merge with Restore, and then 2 days later or whatever, they're saying this isn't happening. Actually, the offer that we've had from Restore is that our members are free to join Restore. But there's no merger, in that there's no merger of policy. There's no saying we'll take some values from here and some values from there. And so Ben Habib is like, he's calling Rupert Lowe a control freak and things like that, or a dictator.
So they're all calling each other all sorts now. It's mutual hostility.
There doesn't seem to be loads between them, especially when you look on issues like assisted dying, abortion, and these things. That they're harping on about their Christian values and their support for Christianity and all these things, but they're not going anywhere on.
Well, Restore said they would repeal assisted suicide, even though Rupert Lowe voted for it at the first reading.
Really?
And they said they'd repeal abortion decriminalization.
Yeah, I know. And they said that. It's sort of like, but that doesn't have any real principle. I mean,
no.
There's a principle in that that's horrific, but in terms of the numbers of lives that are taken in the womb, that it's not going to make a dent on it.
No. And the tweet, it wasn't saying we're doing this because we value life in the womb. It was, we're doing this so you can vote for us now, you Christian lot. That was the.
And then Christians coming in and saying, great to see these principled people, and so I've been responding to some of those tweets and things, and
Britain will remain a Christian country. Okay, this is just illustrating just what's going on with Lawrence Fox. I would say a pretty extreme, a loose cannon. Not a Christian, but he's got that on his X account. It's like, what is going on here? I've never seen anything like it.
We should each launch a political party beginning with "re" next week.
Yeah.
So Gareth can do Remain, and we'll. I'll do Refrain. What are you going to do?
Yeah.
Tommy
Robinson's talking more and more Christian as well. I mean, who knows what's going on in Islam? I don't want to be cynical, but again, so a lot of like Christian talk around in Tommy Robinson's movement. And best wishes to the Christians who are getting in it. And it's just.
Let's do a spoof of that, shall we? We can do a spoof of the three of us launching the re-parties and slag each other off. That Gareth Kirk,
it's like the
control freak,
the
absolute nutter. That Richard Lucas, you can't trust him. Yeah.
What's is it Life of Brian, isn't it? Where they've
don't
got
like the look of him.
The front for the
people
liberation of Palestine, the Palestine liberation.
Yeah.
They all fall out with each other. Now, I'll tell you, here's my theory on this. Why this happens is when you go towards the hard right of politics, there's a certain type of character. You go very left, you get people who are very empathic and sort of a bit mushy. And, oh, is everyone okay? Are we sure you're happy? And you sort of get that sort of, you thought, the right, more extreme right, you tend to get people who are a bit more, well, stuff you then.
I think there's a kind of speech that they all do, like the speech that I have achieved this in business and I have looked after my people and I have done, and so Farage and Lowe are quite like that. They're like, I've succeeded this way and that way, and now I know I'm the man that can, and Lowe is like, I've got the wisdom and my young people have got the was it ability or the young people have got the energy, and I'm going to point them in the right direction, and
so Greg's starting the reside.
You
need a word after it.
Yeah.
Scotland, UK, or Britain. Are there anything else apart from that? Reside. That's a good one.
I think we could do a good spoof of that, couldn't we? If we can get each of our, we'll come up with a list of.
In fact, just wait there. Just hang on a minute. I've already got them ready.
Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah.
I wonder how many people are aware of us. It's one of those things where, if you're on social media with politics stuff, you'll see this all over the place. But the vast majority of people just don't follow anything political on social media. So they've maybe seen a news report, something related to this, and we shall see.
We'll fake this the splitting up of the Scottish Family Party into the Repeal Party, the
the relaxed rewind Scotland.
Yeah, rewind.
So Greg's just left his own party, I think. He only started it 3 minutes ago. He's already left it and he started a new one.
His second one so far.
Remember there was a Restore party in Scotland, Restore Scotland.
Yeah.
Who became the Sovereignty Party. And I guess they've deregistered the Restore name. The thought crossed my mind, they might go to register with the Electoral Commission. And if Sovereignty had still kept the Restore name as their core name with the Electoral Commission, they could have been in trouble. Greg, that doesn't even begin with R.
He's trying to get voters already. So does do they have a Scottish Restore? Is Rupert Lowe?
I don't think it's on their agenda at the moment. I don't know if they how fast would they need to move to stand in Scotland?
I think they can't do it. I don't think they're registered as a party yet, and it takes weeks to register. I can't imagine. I mean, it's an interesting time to choose to launch. I wondered if it was trying to take the wind out of the sails of reform, because you're launching in the lead up to elections, but you can't stand. If they'd have launched a bit earlier, they could have put candidates up, but they probably wouldn't want to, because that would be, that could be a rude awakening where they actually stand at the ballot box and see what happens. I wonder if it was deliberate, just to try and detract from their campaign.
No, I think it's the result of what they're doing with legal battle. Looking at the grooming gangs. So they've got the most amount of attention now. So I think it's just at the peak of their attention. So they've got the widest reach now. So if they did it later, no one would know.
Yeah. Yeah. So something else I thought might be interesting. The thought crossed my mind. I wonder if any of the sort of mainstream Christian commentators, organizations who are often pretty lefty, aren't they? If they become aware of like young Christian men going off and joining Restore, which I would think is pretty extreme right wing, I wonder if some of them might be thinking, "Oh, right, I'm a bit concerned about this. Maybe we wish we'd been pointing people to the family party a bit more." Because basically, my theory is there's two routes to social conservatism in politics. There's Christians, and there's pretty hardline right-wing politics. So if you look at like the Nazis or fascists, if you look at some of their family policies, it's pretty good. Or there's various examples around the world, but good family policies and social conservatism often goes with pretty extreme authoritarian right-wing politics. There's no reason why it should. So that's one route to it, and the other route to it is through Christians operating these things as a matter of like moral principle. So perhaps, I don't know, maybe in my dreams I'm thinking that some people might think, oh well, if we want these values coming into politics, we want them in the family party. We don't want people going over to sort of ethno-nationalism. And I just think the tone from Rupert Lowe, I don't like his constant, I don't care. Okay, so they call us racist, or I don't care. There's never, well, okay, let me explain why that's not fair, why that's not true. Or it's always just ignore them. I don't think that's
not helpful for political debate.
It would be disastrous for running the country.
Yeah. Well, I think that's part of the problem, or actually part of the solution. Well, why people would go to such a man or such a policy is because they're expecting them to do something without necessarily understanding the moral or the justifiable reasons for it. Like I want you to just kick these people out, and I don't want you to care. That's why they're going there, because I want you to be hardline on it. So there's it's probably how you have right wing parties coming to power. If you look in the Netherlands and Germany and those, look what's happened there. Massive amounts of kind of like hostility or frustration. And those parties are gaining massive amounts of people. Why? Because they need those guys to not care and be like, this is it, no matter what, boom, you're out. And well, when they say they probably don't realize then comes the consequence thereafter. Once you've got that kind of person in, you're the one going, hey, I don't think you should do that. I don't care. Same,
It's a bit of an angriness arms race at the moment. So you've got the different parties we've been talking about. They might have the same policy, but it feels like that they're certainly competing to be the like angriest, like maybe sweariest, aggressivist way of saying it, and that's what they feel there's a market for, which there probably is to some degree. But if you're going to look at running the country, you've got to be thinking about the bigger picture than that. Anyway, that was a very interesting discussion. Thank you very much. Thanks for watching, everybody. Thanks for your comments, and we'll be here next week. All right, see you next week. Good night.
See ya.
Bye.